Hello, Cassy. It's such an honor to have you as a guest on the Paleo Gardening Expert Interview segment. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cassy Joy Garcia is a blogger at Fed and Fit and the creator of the Fed and Fit Project. She has written the Holiday Feast ebook and has her own podcast. Cassy, how would you explain all that you do to anyone unfamiliar with your work?
That's a great question. To folks who are unfamiliar with my work, I would probably tell them first that I am a recipe developer and nutrition consultant. So all these healthy recipes that I've developed, there's about 200 of them on my blog by now over the last 5 years that have just kind of built up, and those are written with, on the foundation of my nutrition principles and some of the things that I use when I work with folks one-on-one or when building programs like the project. So those are my two mainstays, and from there I've just kind of gotten into a habit of reaching out and being more of an encourager and motivator, especially in today's world of social media. So trying to give folks what they need to just pat themselves on the back, take a deep breath, and eat some delicious food.
That's great. So everyone has a unique story of how they regained their health in the paleo world. So could you tell me about your journey to starting the paleo diet?
I'd love to. So I found paleo, it was a little over 5 years ago now. I was 24 at the time, and I suffered from pretty debilitating joint pain. My knees and my hips were really in a lot of pain, and 24 is too young, to wake up and wince when you walk into the kitchen. So I didn't think I had a lot of weight to lose, but I was curious about what diets could offer me, and so I played around, and nothing really worked. I dabbled in a bunch of different programs, veganism, South Beach, all of those awesome, flashy, exciting, promising programs. And when things just didn't work, I kind of threw what I thought I knew out the window and did something that I had never thought of before, and that was a paleo approach. And so I went paleo for about 9 months. I was relatively strict. Back then, that was in the days of, there was no white rice or anything like that on paleo, and I stopped drinking all wine. There was really very little chocolate and things like that. And I also started a mixed fitness program where I incorporated some weightlifting. And after about 9 months, I went from about a size 12-14 to a size 2-4 dress. So I lost about 10 dress sizes.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a pretty dramatic change. And best of all, though, my joint pain went away, and I had more energy than ever before. I've had to work really, really hard in school. I went to Texas A&M University, and I vividly remember just sitting in those classes being exhausted. Like, I just had the hardest time focusing. And at the time, I didn't realize it was because of the food I was eating that was really getting in the way of my energy and my focus. And so both of those came back just better than ever. And in that whole process, I probably only lost about 10 to 15 pounds because I also built muscle. But my body just settled. I'm a tall girl, and so, I looked great before and I looked great afterwards, but my body just kind of settled into just really the frame I was supposed to be. So that was my journey. And then I took to starting my blog shortly after that so I could share recipes.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start eating this way and eat really cleanly, how your body, it does shift shapes and your mind does clear. And for me, it was the mind clearing and the energies that I noticed so much coming back when I did the switch for us. We've been about 3 years. Well, actually, our 4th year is just starting in March.
Happy anniversary.
I'll never go back. Yeah.
It's
been great. So how has your journey to health affected the way that you're helping others?
It's everything. I always knew that I wanted to pursue some sort of a career path in the medical field. And I went to a health careers high school, for example, here in San Antonio, Texas. And I always knew that was something that I wanted, but I couldn't really put my finger on what exact profession I would choose. And so, I just kind of waited until I really had a very clear sign, and my own health transformation was kind of a sign to me that I really took myself on as my first client. And I reverse engineered what I did and what I've done to keep myself healthy and happy this whole time. And so that's kind of become my fuel for building those programs, working with folks one-on-one, substance and content for the podcast, just topics I want to talk about, just to explore and share my perspectives on different things. So it's really become, my experience has turned directly correlated into content that I put into Fed and Fit. And really the project, I would say, even more so than anything else, is just a direct reflection of those things that I've done to find success.
Nice. Can you tell me more about Fed and Fit?
Yeah. Okay. So the Fed and Fit project is a 28-day food and fitness program. And we really want folks to think about it as a jump start, not as a diet challenge. It's one of those that it's designed to help get you started and launched into that healthy living program, that lifestyle that you can keep up. And then once the 28 days are done of this food and fitness template that we've built for you, encouragement along the way, you're also provided kind of like a tool set of ways to turn those 28 days into a real lifestyle, translate it into real life. What does it look like when we go out to eat? Or what are some of the foods that maybe are not paleo that we can incorporate in our lives that aren't going to harm us as much as others? So it really is just a leg up into that healthy living that, like you and myself, I guess, have come to know is just real life over the last, several years.
Yeah, that sounds like a great program. Do you do it online, or, can anybody participate, or is it just local people come and see you?
No, it is online. I actually stopped taking one-on-one nutrition clients because I couldn't fit any more people into my schedule. So that's where I really got the motivation to build a program. So it's an online program, and the enrollment is currently closed, but will open up in spring of 2016, and we'll start running groups again. The first Monday of every month is when we'll start a new 28-day group, and folks have, membership for life. But the idea is hopefully you only really need to go through it once.
Yeah, I bet few people do refreshers, though. But that's nice that they can come back in and do that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of started to build its own community. The project is bookmarked online. It's set up more like a classroom where you take advantage of these cool learning opportunities every week. And so we have videos set up, talk through the material, because sometimes hearing it from in someone's voice, over a written form is just so much more helpful. So it's a pretty fun, pretty interactive group, and then you also get to be there side by side with the other people in your month.
So what is your process for creating new delicious recipes?
Yes, that's a great question. And I've never been asked that before. My process for creating recipes for my website or that are going to go into, a printed publication coming out this summer is, my cookbook that's coming out details are coming on all of that. But I get an idea for a food or something that I think would be really, really satisfying first, and then I kind of start to make it, and I figure out a way to make the end product happen. And then once I achieve the perfect end product, I figure out a way to make the steps as easy as possible. So I usually make things 2 or 3 times once I've perfected the end product so that I can nail the steps and make them as simple as possible. I'm one of those people that, I'm a dedicated kitchen or recipe developer, but I wouldn't say that it comes super easy to me. I really have to work through it. And I think that's kind of a blessing because it forces me to make sure that the techniques are easily repeatable, really approachable, because, you know, a paleo-friendly ranch dressing is something that anybody can make, and so it's my job to figure out a way to right direction so that they're as easy to replicate as possible.
That's really helpful to people because people are really busy, and if there's too many steps, I know I do, I'll just like skip them or skip the recipe. So
yeah, totally. I do the same thing. Mhm.
Yeah. There's one that says, okay, this is going to take 3 days. I'm like, next.
Yep, I hear you. That's exactly the same. I also am a big believer in, you know, my family is pretty small. It's just myself and my husband and our big dog, Gus. But I'm also a believer in meal prepping. I kind of cook like we're feeding an army when it's really just the two of us, because I try to make recipes that are going to give us foods that are freezer friendly and then can be prepackaged and wrapped up and defrosted when we need it. So, you know, just it's those shortcuts that really help turn this, I guess, not so intuitive when you first start lifestyle into something that's really easy and second nature, and, you know, everything around you is just tipped in your favor to encourage you to keep going.
That's a great idea. We do that too. Whenever I cook dinner, I kind of double it, and that's what we eat for lunch the next day, so that we have
smart girl.
You know, some volume happening. Yep.
Mhm.
So in paleo gardening, we are passionate about teaching skills that increase the availability of high quality foods. So do you have any suggestions for finding or buying high quality foods?
Yeah. You know, I'm sure that folks have heard this before, but I think that it's important to really scope out local farmers markets if you haven't already. Get to know people, ask them, you know, I guess where their food comes from, what it's fed, things like that. Really get to know the products that you're going to be bringing home. And the more you learn about them, just you'll become that much more of an informed consumer. So I think farmers markets are great. I think that conventional grocery stores do have a lot of really great options nowadays as well. Again, just the more you know, the better questions you can ask. So do some research, start asking lots of questions. And if you've got the space for it, I really encourage folks to start a home garden. You know, whether you've got room to do an actual box in your backyard, or you just have, you know, a patio where you can put some pots out and start growing herbs. You know, there's something to be said for the appreciation that and the significance associated with a food that you grew yourself. So all of those tricks, you know, it can be as overwhelming or not overwhelming as you want. You know, you can jump in with both feet, find a farmer, start going to their farm and picking up eggs, things like that. Eggs are a really affordable protein, especially really healthy ones when you look at, you know, weight by price. But I don't know. I mean, really my advice to people is set a budget, do your research, and start asking a lot of questions and figure out how you can start making more products and growing more things from home if possible.
I like that answer. I think people should grow stuff at home because you get more than just food. You know, you get
exactly
to create and to, you know, even after 30 years, I still come home and I bring in a vegetable and I say, look, I grew this. It's like 30 years of this. So yeah,
that's so great.
Just growing it. Yeah, so my family goes like, yeah, we know.
That's so cute. I started our first garden. We have 4 really big raised beds now that my husband built me for my birthday last year. It's all I wanted. And we jumped in with both feet. I started all these seedlings, and we had eggplant and cucumbers just everywhere. But there was something about those dinners where I cooked with those foods that I made or that we grew from seedlings, and just made it so much more significant. And it's so much fun coming home at the end of the day to go and prune your garden and pick the things that are ripe and, you know, chop them up and freeze them if that's what's needed. It is pretty special.
Yeah. Until you've experienced it, kind of hard to know what that feeling is. But it's definitely worth the effort.
Absolutely.
So are there any exciting projects that you are working on right now?
Yes, there are. Like I said, I've been hinting at it for a while, but I've got my first cookbook coming out this summer. It'll hit the shelves hopefully mid-July, and it'll be called Fed and Fit, just after my blog. So it's pretty exciting. The project will open up enrollment again this spring, and then we are also going to start releasing a weekly YouTube video. So I'll have a Fed and Fit YouTube series, and the name of the series is going to be called Almost Live with Cassy Joy, which I thought was funny, because it's not live, but it's almost live. And it's going to be a series of just really short, about 5-minute video clips where I kind of just help walk folks through very simple cooking techniques, and then we also throw in some really fun facts. You know, so think about kind of Bill Nye the Science Guy or Alton Brown meets a really encouraging nutritionist and personal trainer. So that'll be the gist of the show, and that'll be, so that'll be out probably later this spring.
Yeah, I'll look for that and subscribe. I'll enjoy that one. That'll be good. Your cookbook, is it going to be print? Will it be like on Amazon and?
Yep, Amazon. Yep, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. Amazon, of course, will be one of the best ways to grab it, especially leading up to it. It'll be on pre-order right up until it comes out. So if you want to be one of the first to grab a copy, that's super helpful. And then after that, I'll be doing a book tour around the country. So in late summer, early fall, I'm going to be popping all over the place. So hopefully I'll be able to meet some of you guys if you're listening and you do decide to come out to one of those events.
Cool. That sounds great. So your work has helped so many, and there are many of us who would like to see you continue. So how can anyone listening stay involved with your work?
Oh, thanks for asking. That's really sweet. So the easiest way is to stay up to speed with what I've got going on. I'm always fedandfit.com is really kind of my home online. You know, that's where you can always catch latest podcast episodes, you know, all the transcripts. Maybe if you don't have time to listen, you can read them. All of my latest blog recipes are on there. And then subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll get a summary of what's gone out every week, in addition to kind of like my really fun nutrition exposés. We like to do what's the real food truth on beets. You know, are beets really a sugary superfood, or what's the story there? So the newsletter is a great one. Website's a great one. Social media, you can find me on almost every platform, especially Instagram and Facebook, I think, are the two that I'm most active on, but my username is just @FedAndFit. And then lastly, you can find me on my podcast, the Fed and Fit podcast, where it's just a weekly episode, about 30 minutes, so pretty short and sweet, and it's mostly just motivation, kind of my thoughts. I like to think of it as a very practical perspective on some of these semi-sciencey, tend to be overwhelming topics in this food and fitness world. So, you know, kind of let's break it down. Let's talk about what really matters, and what could matter if it's important to you. So those are all the places.
That sounds great. Sounds like we can get hooked up with you whenever we want to here. Oh, and then you'll have your YouTube as well.
Absolutely. I'll have the YouTube series. And then if you're thinking that, you know, a program kind of like what I talked about, the Fed and Fit project, is something that you'd be interested in, or if you really would just like to feel like I am your actual best friend for 28 days, then I encourage you to sign up for the project, because it's literally what it's like. We talk a lot during the project, virtually, of course, but there's a lot of emails, there's a lot of support opportunities. There's an opportunity to work with a Fed and Fit coach one-on-one during the project if you're looking for something a little bit more, I guess, customized to your goals and your needs. So there's a lot of ways we can be in touch, and I've done everything I can to spread myself out and make myself available.
That's great. I appreciate your efforts, because people do need some help when they get started on this. I know when I got started on paleo, it's like, okay, I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to do this. And, yeah, it's just so much easier if you got somebody that can guide you, especially those first months. Yeah. So great. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to join me on the show today.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you as a guest on the Paleo Gardening Expert interview. I'd like you to have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have a great day, too.